Big injury boost coming in regards to Luke Shaw. He's actually coming back. We also know that Mason Mount is now available for selection and is expected to get some minutes after the international break. We know that Aiden Heaven's injury is not too serious and is back in the coming weeks. Yoro is expected back in the coming weeks. So is Maguire. The only serious injury is really Lucha, who's out until the end of the year. Amad Diallo could also be back. May potentially, although Manchester United are going to be very careful not to rush him back. So we're going to talk about the latest on injuries. Garnacho exit cannot be ruled out. Updates on that from Laurie Whitwell, very reliable source of information. Sancho and Rashford set to go. 4 attacking sales set to be made at Manchester United. So how are they going to rebuild their attack in the summer? Updates on buyback clauses, Greenwood, Alvaro Fernandez, Willy Kambala. What is the situation with those 3 players all doing really well this season? Academy and young players that Manchester United have sold. Sean Longstaff links. Yeah, they better not be true. They better not be true. And yeah, a youth star that's apparently really good that Man United want out in Greece. So let's dive into all the latest Manchester United news. And hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football. And this is your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, and update news roundup. I'm obviously doing videos at the moment because I am away, so I can't do any live streams. But this is your 10-minute roundup. So it was said by Sully Says. Luke Shaw has returned on-grass training this week. Recent weeks have been focused on rehabilitation work, and he is now in a much better condition. Luke Shaw is gradually on his way back for Manchester United. Who knows when he will next play again, but he sort of came back for a bit, then he had a setback, then he was injured again. He's gradually coming back, he's picking up the training, and there's an expectation that, by the end of the month, in the next couple of weeks, he can be ready to get minutes for Manchester United again. And fingers crossed he doesn't play 2 minutes and come off injured. Luke Shaw and Mason Mount, it's so frustrating with those 2 players because those 2 players actually improve our starting 11 and they're actually good players. But they can't stay fit, and I'm just like, get rid in the summer. They can't stay fit. They're on high wages. They're gobbling up money, and they're just every time they do come back, you can't even start them 2 games in a row. You can't even rely on them to play 5 games without getting injured again. It's so frustrating. So yeah, look, I like Luke Shaw. I think he's one of the best left centre back options we could have. I think he would fit Amorim's system well, especially with Leach out injured. I'd love Luke Shaw to come back in, especially with Euro and Heaven having some injuries. But sadly, I feel like he's barely going to play for United. And obviously he's got his contract, which isn't up till next year. But I don't think Man United are going to be able to sell Luke Shaw because of his injury issues. Same with Mason Mount. But fingers crossed Shaw can come back. Fingers crossed Shaw can come back soon and stay fit. Euro should be back soon. Heaven should be back soon, which is good. Obviously, Lucha is out for a while. So let's continue on into the news on Garnacho. Swap deal involving Alejandro Garnacho and Victor Osimhen cannot be ruled out, was said by the People's Person on the OneFootball app. So I gave this a little bit of a read, and this is what was said on the OneFootball app. It was said, in terms of what they want from a striker, I think Osimhen would fit the bill. So I wonder what happens there. The only thing is Napoli is Napoli. How much would they want for him? And would some kind of transfer swap make some kind of sense? Obviously, they've been interested in Alejandro Garnacho already, and I wouldn't rule out something like that potentially happening. So Give Me Sport, according to Laurie Whitwell via Give Me Sport, said this via OneFootball, that in terms of what Man United want from a striker, Victor Osimhen fits the bill. So there's interesting updates about Man United's interest in Osimhen. Laurie Whitwell is one of the best sources of information when it comes to Manchester United news, transfers, and updates. He said, want a striker. Striker is priority. I think he's confirmed interest in Delap. He's now confirmed interest in Osimhen. Which could be ones to watch. We also know that United are keeping an eye on the likes of Mateta, Jonathan David, Victor Gyökeres. We're keeping an eye on a lot of strikers in the market. We do like Sesko, but that's not seen as a realistic one. And also Akite as well. But he did say, you can't rule out Garnacho leaving United. Napoli have interest in Garnacho. United were open to selling Garnacho. While Garnacho's improving and Amorim's starting to change his stance on Garnacho. Garnacho being sold in the summer or being used in a deal to bring in a striker because he is worth a lot of money because he's young, he's raw, and he's pure FFP profit. It cannot be ruled out. And something says to me, one of Garnacho and Højlund will leave. Garnacho or Højlund will leave United. We also know from Fabrizio Romano that Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho are both expected to leave this summer. Chelsea are unlikely to send Sancho back, apparently, which fingers crossed stays the case. And that Manchester United will let Ruben Amorim decide Sancho's future in the unlikely event he does return to Old Trafford. It will be in the hands of Amorim. Yes, he suits Amorim's system, but no, he hasn't got the and maybe the mentality and the work rate and the physicality that Amorim will want, but he's got technical ability and the ability to play as a 10 that Amorim may want. So that'll be interesting on Sancho, but I think Manchester United is just get rid of Sancho. The freedom comments, everything that's happened, I think they want Sancho out. So let's talk about this huge attacking overhaul, because we are going to see potentially 4 attackers leave Man United in one window, and they're big name attackers, big wage attackers. Sancho, Rashford, and Antony almost all confirmed exits with them out on loan. Unless clubs do not want Sancho, Rashford, and Antony because they start stinking it up from now to the end of the season. Rashford and Antony have been good. Sancho started well, but he's been poor lately. Manchester United should be able to sell all of those players. We should get 25 million from Chelsea for Sancho, 40 million from Villa for Rashford, maybe more, but we've got a 40 million deal with Villa. I think a 40 million option to buy, I think, with Villa. And Antony, Man United are looking for 30 million. Real Betis want 20 million. I think it could be settled at 25 million, but to avoid making a loss in PSR, United will need 30 million. So these 3 sales could bring us in around 95 million pounds. So we're looking at just under 100 million pounds from these 3 sales alone, which is going to give us funds to boost our attack. A Garnacho sale, as the credible Laurie Whitwell said, cannot be ruled out. And Højlund's attracting interest from other clubs in the market, as Manchester United are looking at other strikers in the market. So a lot of teams are interested to see if there's a potential to buy Rasmus Højlund, as they know that Manchester United are looking for strikers elsewhere. And I do think one of Garnacho / Højlund has a strong possibility of going, which is 4 attacking exits. I think one of Garnacho or Højlund could go. I think Sancho, Rashford, Antony will go unless something bit bad happens between now and the end of the season. That's 3 attacking exits. I think one of Garnacho and Højlund could go, and I think it would depend on the interest, the money that comes in. I think if you get 70 million for Garnacho, United aren't going to say no. If you get 50 million for Højlund, United aren't going to say no. But I think it will massively sort of depend on the offers Man United get, which brings me into how are we going to rebuild our attack? So first of all, we need at least 2 attacking additions. We need a 10 and we need a striker. We're very thin in attack right now. We don't have loads of options. And if Garnacho goes on top of the 3 players out on loan, we're going to need at least 2 additions. That being a striker and a 10. Fabrizio Romano confirmed United are interested in bringing a striker and a 10. For me, Cunha could play striker, but he's an out-and-out 10. He's better on the left side. I think he's perfect for Amorim's system. He's Premier League proven. He's 26. He's a good age. He's got the physical attributes, the technical attributes, and he can score from out of nothing. I think Cunha would be a great addition. My other option would be Gyökeres to play striker, proven goal scorer. If we can't get Gyökeres, I would maybe look at Jonathan David because he is available on a free. He's on track to get 30 goals this season, 25, proven goal scorer. United need someone that is scoring 20 plus goals a season already, that is in their prime, and United need a left-hander that fits the system. These 2 players are tick boxes for me. If we're thinking of bringing in a 3rd attacker, I'd also look at Semenyo, who could play right 10 and right wing back, which means that we don't have to rely on Ahmed at right wing back or Delo at right wing back. We can rotate Ahmed and Semenyo. So if we're looking at 3 attackers, because let's say potentially one of Garnacho and Højlund leaves, I would look at bringing in one of those players. Continuing on into Rashford. Now, the Sunday Star said this, that Ruben Amorim will not offer Marcus Rashford a lifeline at United this summer, as United bosses are looking to strike a permanent deal with Aston Villa in the region of 60 million. Now, I think that the first part of this story is true, that Rashford will not be offered. He's going to go. He knows he needs a fresh start, and United want to get rid of Rashford. They're saying £60 million, which is weird because there's literally a clause in the deal with Rashford's loan to Villa that Villa have a 40 million option to buy for Rashford, which, I mean, it comes from the Sunday Star. But this just tells you that some of the mainstream sources just don't do that bit of research. You know, Rashford, if he goes to Villa, will be 40 million. If he goes to Barcelona, United could push for 50, 60 million. But there's an option to buy in his loan, it's believed, with Villa for £40 million. So I don't think Rashford will come back. I don't think United can offer him a lifeline. I think that's true. But it's going to be a £40 million deal, just to clarify that for you guys, because a lot of people have been talking about getting 60 million for Rashford, and that's only if he did really well and he went elsewhere from Villa. Talking of buybacks and options and all of this kind of stuff, Atletico Madrid are now going to move forward with the signing of ex-Manchester United player Alvaro Carreras, or Alvaro Fernandez as we know him as, in the summer, and United have a 40 million buyback option should they move for the star. Do you know what? This is an interesting one because I don't think we necessarily need him, but I also do think we need another sort of option at fullback, or we're lacking there a little bit. But then I'm like, we've got Dorgu, and then we've got the Diego Leon kid. I don't know, like with Alvaro, if Dorgu gets injured, we're a little bit screwed. But then Delo and Mashraoui could play left wing back. I still think we need another wing back. The priority is striker. We know that. We know that they also want a centre back, they also want a pivot player, and also want a 10. But they'll also be looking at somebody that's got the potential to play wing back. Although I do think we need more of a right wing back than a left wing back. But I just think 14 million for Alvaro. I know maybe we've got Dorgu, but I just think that's such a good option. And we let him go to Benfica for like 4 million. That I just feel so silly. Man United, sorry, I don't feel silly, Matt, but Manchester United let him go for 4 million, which is just so silly. We could have easily got more money from Benfica when we sold him. And, look at what City sell their academy players for. Look at what Chelsea sell their academy players for. But we sell our academy players for peanuts. And that had me thinking, we've got a 50% sell-on clause in the Greenwood deal, but that's only for the money above 25 million and beyond. So let's say PSG bidded 75 million for Mason Greenwood and that was accepted by Marseille, we'd get 25 million because the original 25 million, they get all of that back Marseille. And then we get 50% of what's bidded on top of 25 million. So 25 million plus 50 is 75 million. So we'd half the 50 and we'd get 25 million if Greenwood was sold for 75 million, for example. So that's still significant fun because we already got 25 million for Greenwood, which would mean we get 50 million pure profit. And there is rumours of teams being interested to pay maybe 60 to 70 million for Greenwood, which could at least bring us some 15, 20 million pounds, which is quite good there. We've also got a 3-year buyback option and sell-on clause for Willy Kambwala, who's starting to do really well in La Liga. But it is frustrating that how little we sold players like Alvaro for and how much money we probably could have got had we been a City or Chelsea. Continuing on into one of the final stories. Everton and Manchester United are both keen to strike a deal with Newcastle for Sean Longstaff this summer. Both clubs have scouted him extensively and are ready to make their move. Really good move for Everton. Makes a lot of sense, this situation. Because he's not playing for Newcastle. The difference between him and Tonali is massive. Him and Bruno Guimaraes is massive. Him and Joelinton massive. Even Lewis Miley's better than him. Willock's better than him. He's not good enough for Newcastle, but I think he'd be good for an Everton. For Manchester United, it would make no sense. We got rid of Scott McTominay. Scott McTominay's levels above Sean Longstaff. Sean Longstaff is the C-Tech Scott McTominay. So, any kind of deal for Sean Longstaff, absolutely, in my opinion, makes no sense. And last but not least, Manchester United have contacted Olympiacos, 17-year-old forward. I'm probably going to butcher his name. Kostoulas, we're going to call him. Kostoulas. The Greek side do not want to sell him this summer. Okay, I am not familiar with this player. I'm not familiar with watching this player. But he's been linked to United a couple of times. He's also been linked to Liverpool. And apparently he's a baller in the Greek league and he's 17. So I'm going to do research on this player, but that's just the story. I thought I'd share it on screen. Thank you for watching your 12-minute roundup. See you next time. Bye.